Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. It's been amazing to hear the panels we've heard so far, hearing Relin speak about WebStream, and now we're really excited to start talking about the builder perspective. So I'd like to start by introducing some of my panelists, and then we can get started from there. So first, I'd like to introduce Bruno, who's head of business development at Cartesi. Everyone give a round of applause for Bruno. Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Conrad from Chainlink as well. Round of applause. Thanks, Conrad. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Aaron, who does product at IoTeX. Awesome. So really excited to hear from you guys and hear especially again about the builder's perspective. I'd like to start by each of you introducing yourselves a little bit and also introducing the project who you're working with. We can start with Aaron here.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all enjoying the food. We're really excited to have you all here today. It's been a while since we put on an event, so thank you guys for coming. So my name's Aaron, lead product manager at IoTeX, and man, it's hard releasing product. So the last many months have been spent trying to get WebStream launched, and guys, IoTeX guys, give yourselves a pat on the back because a lot of work went into this, and we're really excited to bring this to market, and we hope you guys really enjoy building with it. So yeah, WebStream. It's I'll get into it as we go through here, but it's a decentralized off-chain compute infrastructure, which takes using decentralized data from devices and decentralized decentralized identity in order to create DApp-ready proofs, and we expect this to increase go-to-market times by up to 50%, and this is going to be a great value for many builders out there.
Test it. Oh, there we go. Hey, everybody. My name is Conrad. I work for Chainlink Labs, and my technical title is evangelist. What that practically means is that over the course of any given week, I speak to probably roughly 25 projects that are in the space. They're new, they're building, and I learn about what they do, what they have come up on the roadmap, and if there's a fit, and how Chainlink can help support them. So what Chainlink is decentralized Oracle nodes, and I can get a bit more into what that practically means, but in general, our ethos is truth over trust. We're looking to add more trust in the space by tying projects and tying real-world data to cryptographic truth. So that's a bit on me.
Hi all, it's Bruno speaking from Cartesi. It's super incredible to be here again with IoTeX. Pleasure to be with this amazing crowd. Thanks for coming. Thanks for organizing this IoTeX. It's been a hell of a week here in the Blockchain Week, San Francisco. Tons of news, tons of exciting things. And well, a little bit about me. I'm coming from the telecom industry. I used to be Qualcomm for almost 10 years and used to build networks, wireless networks, as Mike said, a huge amount of money invested on that. And I always was curious about the fact that the internet was built to exchange information, but it was missing a piece of content, which is they couldn't exchange natively value, right? And when I saw blockchain emerging, it clicked on me, and I said, that's the missing piece of the puzzle, right? Blockchain not only allows information to be exchanged, but value to be created and distributed and connect the stakeholders of our ecosystem on the flying wheel of value, and that's why it's so disruptive and innovative, right? And that's the reason for I left telecom and joined the blockchain industry since from 2018. And since from 2020, I'm leading core contribution for Cartesi. And Cartesi aims to address a problem that was touched in a lot of different ways in the previous panel on how to scale and solve and bringing blockchain technology close to real world applications. And one of the limiting factor is scalability. It's capacity to attend the demand that you require in the real world. And that's why most of the applications, as Mike said, they are built off-chain because blockchains cannot handle a fraction of a capacity to build a real application totally on-chain. Well, until now, right? Because Cartesi, we are addressing that with a unique architecture on roll-ups. So we are in a scalability project. We built a novel roll-ups application, specifically roll-ups, that massively expand computation capabilities. We expand so much computation that we give ourselves a luxury to boot our virtual machine with an entire Linux operating system. So now, in the future, when we complete the integration with IoTeX, right, people can use a specific application, roll-ups, running Linux OS with your favorite program language like Python and running sophisticated libraries like OpenCV to build much more than what is done nowadays, right? And that's why I'm super excited with what is coming. And they are right. Layer 2s, they will address the limitation factors that the blockchains they have, and even Ethereum already recognized that in their roadmap, right? They have a roll-up-centric roadmap where the base layer will be basically the source of a truth, the consensus, and data availability, and they outsource to the roll-ups function, the execution environment, and that's what's Cartesi. We are a general computation purpose layer, agnostic, that can be implemented in different chains, including IoTeX.
Great, awesome. Thank you everyone for these introductions. I think it's a great way to kind of veer into this topic that we're talking about today, right? The real world and bridging it with Web3. And I think there's, a really promising reality in this where it could bring true utility to the Web3 space. It's taking the power of blockchain technology beyond just the digital realm and really bringing it into the physical realm. And I think it opens an entire new suite of applications and possibilities powered by this technology. So I'd really like to kick it off by looking into how does each of your company's technologies contribute to this goal of connecting real world data to activities and to dApps?
Yeah, I can take this one to start, guys. So we just released this product that I mentioned before called WebStream. Our slogan that we've got for it is smart devices to smart contracts. So what this means is essentially you're able to take verified device data from devices and translate that into chain agnostic DApp ready proofs. What this exactly means in terms of use cases, it actually makes, you can deliver proof of anything. So whether this is proof of humanity, and essentially you're able to get some very interesting X to earn use cases out of this. This could be sleep to earn, walk to earn. It could be drive to earn. So yeah, tons of different use cases that you can get out of this, and we're definitely going to get into that a little bit more here later on. Go ahead, Conrad.
Awesome. So I think a story that really what first brought me to the blockchain was I heard about a stat that 60% of olive oil that we're all purchasing is fake. That it's marketed as extra virgin olive oil, it's actually cut with a lot of different things, and we are none the wiser. And I was sitting in on a call, and I heard somebody saying that you can put up these IoT touch points along the journey of olives from when they're harvested, along their supply chain to when they arrive at Safeway or your local grocery store. It's all governed by smart contracts, and when the product reaches the store, the consumer knows that they're getting a verified product, and on the flip side, the grower gets paid immediately. And how that's powered by is, in one sense, through Chainlink technology, where we are the decentralized blockchain middleware connecting off-chain data to on-chain. And that can have a wide variety of use cases. The whole goal, though, is to empower smart contracts and the builders within this space to create very rich, diverse use cases. So olive oil is a perfect example of that. We have a lot of different use cases, though, ranging from parametric crop insurance that's powered by weather data and our fantastic data providers. We have a really interesting partnership with the NBA, where they integrated data from NBA sports games to fuel these dynamic trading cards. And when I was a kid, I played baseball. I collected cards and I have a box somewhere. I've never opened them, but the ability to make an NFT live and breathe with your favorite player's stats, with their performance, I think is a very powerful thing, and the sky is really the limit, and we're really just scratching the surface of what the data is that we're bringing on chain and how it can be used.
Yeah, indeed, and imagine when we combine reliable data generation with a massive computation power using industry-grade softwares like Python, C++, Rust, in very common environment like Linux, used by more than 95% of devices in the world. That combination is the combination that will drive us to start creating real world with real utility applications, and that what will bring blockchain technology close to the mainstream, right? So imagine you get data from them and you use contextual pre-data loaded in this virtual machine and with sophisticated computation, because now you can do sophisticated computation with the same secure guarantees of the blockchain technology using rollups for guarantee that you can really deploy logic that can mimic the real needs from the mainstream. We are moving from the simple if, then, do that, right? It's a very simplistic logic to a much more sophisticated logic that can get contextual data, live reliable data, process that in a very sophisticated way using sophisticated algorithm libraries or whatever you need, even train AI algorithms using Python, for example, to give a richness of results that will enforce a lot of actions. And the number of verticals that can touch that, it's immense. You can preload, for example, you said about insurance, right? You can preload a Google Maps in a virtual machine from the whole California, for example, and getting data from cars, right? You can compare location, and this is in a reliable way, using secure hardware, right? That can sign the data, so you guarantee that the data source is reliable, cannot be tampered, and you can verify the origin, right? It is super important. You solve the first page of and nobody talks about that. Everybody likes to say when the data is already on-chain, right? But if you put a lie on on-chain, the blockchain will not transform that lie in truth. Right? So getting reliable data is a fundamental piece of the problem and the base root of everything else. And when you mix that with sophisticated computation, with a scalability that Cartesi provides, you can start creating some very interesting applications on insurance, on supply chain, on parking, and even the way that the government interact with the population on enforcing some regulations and etc. Right? Contextual data together with real-time data and sophisticated computing, it will drive us to the next stage of dApps.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly, Bruno, that it's really the combination of all the innovations put together is what powers, this next reality. It's not going to be one technology or one solution fits all. It's going to be how can we all work together to make this a reality and power it together and all these individual components together.
The Web3 is much more collaborative than competitive, right? And we are proving that building projects together, uniting force, getting the strength of each of us, and we can move much faster than traditional industries that are not getting that same vibe, right? And I'm super excited to see what's coming next.
Awesome, thank you for that. Yeah, I think you all started to touch a little bit on use cases too, and that's something I want to dive into a little deeper, especially on this topic of how can these use cases, how can we connect the real world to Web3? It's, this big, bold question, and you brought a lot of different use cases together. But I would like to know what specific industries do you think will be most impacted by this revolution, most impacted by connecting, all of this real world data, all of this technology to Web3. And again, with that as well, can you exemplify how blockchain will actually impact these industries?
So there's 12 trillion devices. There's so many devices out there. $12 trillion of potential data that we could be bringing in. I think that, as I cut my teeth as a product manager working in the automotive industry, so I could totally see it changing the way we commute to work every day, with things like Drive to Earn. Also sustainability. That industry as well is going to be really affected, I think, by things as simple, but also as beautiful, potentially as recycled to earn. The place that we're seeing the most inroads right now actually is in the healthcare and fitness industries. So there's actually a ton of really, really awesome data that you can get through something like a Fitbit, Apple Watch. And with that data, you're able to generate mass pools of data that can actually, using AI, you can do something as crazy and amazing as potentially even solving and fixing and curing cancer or other diseases out there. The potential is really limitless. I don't want to put a cap on it, but I really see that being as an amazing industry that this will really, really be solved and fixed. And
That's amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
I think an easy answer is DeFi, since there is a dollar amount associated with it. You can see it. There's a very TVL metric to it, so you can see where the growth comes from. But where I really find the most excitement, and where I think there's a lot of growth potential, going back to that crop insurance use case, is in InsurTech, and then also with the sporting industry. So where I think InsurTech really can make a difference is with that parametric crop insurance use case I described. It's very easy for us, I think, in the United States to take the food that we have on our plate for granted and the farmers that grow them for granted. But if you think about developing nations where they may own a farm or farmers own a farm for generations and generations, there's no reliable way for them to hedge against climate risk. There is moisture that's drying up. They have less opportunity apart from just praying for more water. There's no local infrastructure with underwriters that can support them hedging against climate risk, and the only thing they can do is throw their hands up and say, you know what, I guess this family plot is just going to dry up. There's a company called Arbol that has enabled parametric crop insurance, and now these local farmers have an opportunity to secure their investment, secure their livelihood, to continue putting food on the table for themselves and the rest of the world. So I think that there's a lot of potential to be wrapped up in InsurTech, and it's changing people's lives. As I mentioned, sports and sports data, but also real estate. How can we fractionalize illiquid assets, make them more liquid, enable more people to invest and create opportunities that they would never have had before in a more trustless, transparent way? So that's where I see a lot of innovation and excitement coming from.
Yeah, indeed. And you mentioned about DeFi. Of course, DeFi is the first use case of blockchain technology, right? Bitcoin was created aiming to solve a financial problem, which is the disintermediation of exchange of value. But I think we go much beyond that, right? And gaming is going pretty well. Gaming industry is showing a good strength and use case of blockchain. But that is this whole new world, as in the presentation, Fowler had mentioned about an untapped market of hundreds of billions of trillions of dollars on IoT and the data that will be generated on that. And once this data is being generated in a trustful way, and you have a mechanism to work in this data in a verifiable way, that will unlock a lot of things. Right? And it will unlock new markets to raise through this flying wheel of value that can be exchanged. For example, in climate, in sustainability, right? In the moment that you are, sustainability in carbon credit industry, it's an industry where to generate the data to create a credit is a very unreliable, human-based, prolonged cost and bureaucratic process, right? To go measure what people are claiming is true or not, go through a long process, sometimes 18 months, until you issue a carbon credit from that source, right? And it's super prone to failure, to human imperfections, right? And imagine that you start solving that with IoT technology, generating reliable, verifiable measurements of what you want to save, sending that to the blockchain, sophisticated computation, treating this data and automatically issuing certificates. Right? An immediate market that will raise from here is AAA carbon credits, because you're gonna be avoiding this the greenwashing, all the risks that you have on the sustainability industry, because you are creating your credits based on end-to-end reliable information. Data from the data to the data manipulation and the issue of the certificate without any human intervention. And for example, one of the grantees on the Cartesi Labs, it's a project that they want to solve a sustainable stove in Africa. So in Africa, you have those stoves that are pretty much unhealthy and generate a lot of carbons because they use coal, right? And they want to replace that for a sustainable stoves using pellets. And those sustainable stoves will come on an IoT device that will measure what exactly time the stove was turned on, the temperature, the speed of the fan, and sending this data to the blockchain, where a sophisticated computation will get this verifiable data with digital signature and will measure exactly each day how many grams or kilos or whatever of carbon was saved by the usage of that stove. And that can be measured accurately to 100% of the stove. You don't need to go and do a kind of a sampling of that stoves and asking to people, do you use a stove? How many hours more or less you use that? Okay, I will issue a carbon credit here. That is, and that would generate also a secondary market where this person is not paying for the stove because the carbon that she's generating, partially of that will be automatically through smart contract technology without any intervention, without any human participation, repay the stove manufacturing with the revenue of the carbon credits. And that will be issued already in the blockchain, fully verifiable, to a market that can also get in a secondary lending and whatever, we can do that. And so it's a quality of the carbon credit certificate, rich environment on the flying wheel of value when you connect the part that is needed for the stove, that needs credit from the stove manufacturer, from the carbon industry, all these guys incentive aligned by the blockchain, right? And you can redistribute this value fairly and with much more impact. So this is one of the examples that we can do with blockchain, and I believe IoT, sustainability, health industry, all those things will drive a huge amount of attention and innovation and markets that we are not yet even ready, right? The moment that you see the developers understanding the capacity that project like ours is unlocking, it will be fantastic. Right? I'm super excited to see what the builders will realize and start creating once they see what's available for them. Right? What layer 2 protocols are bringing, their availability, and all this rich set of data that is being created trustful way.
Thank you, honestly, for sharing all these use cases. It always makes me very excited to kind of think about what could possibly drive this next wave of adoption, what could be the catalyst to onboarding more users to Web3. You know, we're so early to all of this, and you just think about how many use cases we don't even realize yet, and like you said, Bruno, markets we don't even know exist, and the potential of them. So that's something definitely for builders to get excited about, start thinking about, and really the sky's the limit on that one. And I think, you know, kind of shifting gears a little bit, when we talk about wanting to get into this next stage of adoption, obviously there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be barriers to do so. So something I wanted to talk about were, hearing from each of your perspectives, what are some friction points that blockchain ecosystems should really focus on solving in order to facilitate the real world actually connecting to Web3? How do we make this a reality? What pain points are we seeing right now that we need to solve before reaching greater adoption?
So you guys will probably see my answer coming. As a product manager, I'm always thinking about the user. So user experience, user research, I think that's key to everything that we're doing here. So, you know, we need to make things dead easy. Whether it's something like buying an NFT or it's connecting your device to a Web3 wallet. You need to make things dead easy to use. And in addition to that, I know I just used the word NFT, but we need to start using non-Web3 language, things that are really easy to understand for the mass market out there. So, you know, maybe throw out the NFT that I just said there. Let's go with collectible. Yeah, something like that. All right, go ahead, Conrad.
Yeah, I think that where we My question will be a bit more, my answer will be a bit more existential in that I think education is really important, that people don't really recognize the issues that exist today, especially going back to that kind of ethos of truth over trust. And going back to the olive oil example, consumers today don't realize that there could be a way to verify where their product comes from and how they could support those local growers in a more efficient manner. So I think it is up to all of us to make Web3 more of an inclusive place where people can understand what the value proposition is, what it means to live in a trustless world, and then how they themselves, along with the ethos of decentralization, how they can contribute to ensuring that we are building a more trustless future, rather than getting too nitty-gritty into the technical aspects of it, since that's what we are all up on the stage focusing on. We're empowering the next wave of builders to understand what we do and how they themselves can contribute to it. So I think today that's one of the biggest friction points that's stopping us from wide mass adoption, is making sure that people understand what the value prop is and why they should care.
Indeed, education, it's important, it's fundamental. And I believe we have two levels of frictions to solve. One is in the very end, user indeed needs to be educated, needs to have an easy access, easy on board, and be removed of all this complexity and naming and conventions of the Web3, right? But also there is a friction on the builder side, right? Nowadays, blockchain developers, it face limitations on a lot of different angles, and scalability is a multi-dimension problem, right? It has limitation on transaction costs, on transaction speeds, on computation capabilities, on storage, and having all these limitations, it's pretty difficult to build a very compelling, full decentralized application that can have a real utility on the real world, right? So solving those friction points to developers will unlock us to create more compelling applications to the end users. And not only on that, on the social scalability as well. Only around 400,000 people in the world know Solidity. And you have more or less 25 million developers in the world. Only Python community is 12 million people. Right? So getting the technology that deploy a real world Linux OS that can give freedom of choice of programming language to developers, getting from a moment to another, the whole Python community, 12 million developers, now able to use their own language with their own libraries to code smart contracts is super powerful, right? And not only that, as a security point of view, when you allow battle test programming languages and their libraries to be used, is less one friction point on development, right? If you get a simple function that has not been implemented yet in Solidity, you need to implement that from the scratch. And when you implement something from the scratch, you're super exposed to failures, to bugs, to attacks that you have no idea, right? When you get a library that has been used by 20 years in C++, it's super battle tested, it's super stable, and it's super secure. That gives immediately to this developer a capacity to deploy very sophisticated coding with minimum exposure to surface of attacks. And this is super important because in Web3, if you have an exposure to failure, it means most probably financial loss to the stakeholders in your ecosystem, right? From time to time, you see that somebody exploit fragility on a smart contract because there was a surface of attack that nobody saw it because it's a function that has been implemented by the first time, right? And so on. So solving those scalability problems, it's indeed part of the equation to remove all the frictions to the real and useful applications to be deployed.
Great, amazing. Thank you, all of you. And I think each one of you brings up such a unique point that what these pain points are that we're facing, but there are solutions to these. And every team, every project is working continuously to help minimize these pain points and make it easier for developers, users, companies to get involved in Web3. So I want to pose one more question to you guys. I want to bring it back a little bit more to the here and now and ask each of you, how can developers and contributors get involved in this? How can they get involved in this sector? How can they get involved in bringing real world to Web3? And what can they do now to be a part of this exciting reality?
Yeah, so first of all, you guys did the right first step here, coming out here today. So great job on that. But you can go to learn more at webstream.com or IoTeX.io in order to learn more. And we also have a dev portal where we connect devs with other devs. We do things like guided tutorials. And also, yeah, you can learn more about all the different projects that are being built out there to get your creative juices flowing. So definitely go and check that out.
I think Web3 is very community focused, and if you want to get involved, want to learn more, I think looking at the technologies that exist today and the frameworks that exist today, choosing one or more, and then just diving right in. There are a lot of very unique, innovative, talented people that I speak with every single day, and I'm very heartened on a day-to-day basis to see that a lot of people whom I speak with, this is their first NFT project or the first DeFi project that they've created. And they've been working on it for 6 or 7 months outside their own day-to-day job. And the reason why they're able to do that is through a great set of technologies that exist today and are continuing to be built that are open source. There's a lot of resources and material that are available on YouTube if, for example, you want to focus on Solidity programming. There's a member of the Chainlink Labs team named Patrick Collins who has some great tutorials if you want to become a developer in the space. But I think for individuals who are looking to get in the here and now, find a community, start researching on YouTube, and for me personally, when I was first entering the space, I decided to seek a formal education. I am a part of a Master's of Science program in Blockchain and Digital Currencies from University of Nicosia. The first course is completely free online, so if you're looking to understand the structural components of what makes a blockchain, why we're up here doing what we're doing, feel free to seek that out. There's a lot of resources there and a whole community and teams of people to support your journey.
Yeah, indeed, and education content, it's fully available online, most of that for free, so it's not a matter of content and access to information, right? It's an environment that offers really open access to education, and this is one of the key aspects to remove friction, as you correctly mentioned, right? And of course, community, it's everything. Web3 it's what enables finally community-based economy. So making part of a community, a thriving community, a collaborative community, it's paramount for a learning process. And in terms of Cartesi, of course, you join our Cartesi.io page. We have a full developers landing page with rich tutorials, learning by doing, and of course, if people wants to know deeply the technology, we have tracks for that. We have our Discord and other projects Discords fully inviting developers, builders, and visionaries to join it and expose ideas and get connected and collaborate to build the tomorrow's application, right? And super easy with Cartesi because our Linux VM offer a democratic access to different programming languages, so welcoming, of course, Web 2 developers in an easier way. Of course, still some learning path to transit from Web 2 to Web 3, but easier because they can use the lunchbox that they are used to in the Web 2. So I'm actually super positive and excited. It's time for build and seeing projects moving forward with the infrastructure needed to pave the way for the tomorrow's dApps are inspiring, I would say. Right?
That's awesome. Thank you. I want to thank you, Aaron, Conrad, and Bruno, for joining me today and giving that much-needed builder's perspective. Everyone, please give a round of applause for our panelists.